Senior Fellow of the Ayn Rand Institute. Onkar, since you're brand new joining us here, we'd love to hear your perspective on this pay-go issue. Okay, get rid of it. Get rid of the AMT, but that's $50 billion that gets pulled out of the system. What's the best way of replacing it?
Well, I think when you look at the pay and go, there's two things Congress can do. They can either shift taxes onto someone else's shoulders, and that's what Rangel's talking about, putting taxes on the rich instead of the middle class. Or they could cut spending. That's another way to have it revenue neutral. Eliminate a tax and then cut government expenditures. And that's what I think they should be doing rather than trying to now, instead of slamming the middle class, slamming the rich. I mean, one estimate was that 1.7 million of the highest income households would be paying an extra $70 billion in taxes. And I don't think that's just, and I also think that will hurt the economy when you start penalizing people for their economic success.
Well, Mike Norman, I got an idea. Since when they lowered tax rates, they got all this extra income that they weren't expecting. Maybe the best way to collect more income is to lower tax rates even further.
You could lower tax rates, or you could just do away with the AMT and stop trying to figure out how you're going to pay for doing away with it. Look, the $50 billion, Liz, is 0.3% of our GDP. We're running about a 1% deficit right now. Look, when are we going to finally learn that these deficits add stimulus to the economy? They eventually pay for themselves. You know, when we ran a $400 billion deficit in 2003, we were seeing 9% nominal GDP growth. That's almost like China rates of growth. And now that has pretty much paid for itself. You got to do away with this AMT. It is a silly idea to say we're going to do away with it, but we're going to pay for it somehow because the net effect on the economy is zero.
Nicole?
Yes, I mean, if they don't pass any sort of fix, this is really going to hurt consumers and their wallets. An average of $2,000, and when you're making $100,000 a year, you don't have $2,000 probably handy just to pay extra on top of the taxes that you are paying. So, it's very detrimental if they cannot get a fix through. It's looking more and more likely that they won't be able to.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if this is one issue in which Peter Schiff would agree with everybody. Do you, Peter?
And actually, I don't. I mean,
shucks.
What a surprise!
The problem is our government is just simply spending too much money. We can't afford it. The government needs to cut back on spending. And if it did that, then we can reduce taxes. Maybe we can abolish the income tax entirely. If we can't do that, sure, I'm in favor of getting rid of the AMT, but not if it means raising taxes. Warren Buffett may be happy in paying 15%. But I'm paying 45%. I don't like paying 45%.
He's not happy. He says, it should be raised on the rich. That's his whole thing. And the rich, certainly, many of them don't agree with that. Hold on. Look at the markets right now. We are increasing the losses once again, getting closer to the Sessions losses, down about, I'm talking, down 255
But Liz, I'm already paying 45%. How much more do I need to pay?
No, I agree.
Of my income
Listen, don't preach to the choir here. I mean, this is absolutely something that people care about. Omar?
Onkar,
I'm sorry.
I mean, I agree completely. Our focus should be on getting the government to cut its spending. There's all kinds of programs that it shouldn't be involved in.
Yeah, but Onkar, who's going to start? We had on the Secretary of the Department of Commerce, and that's a department that I think we could both agree on could be eliminated without most Americans realizing it was eliminated. And even though he represented Republican administration, he said, don't cut me because what I'm doing is valuable. Everybody says that.
Well,
so what do you cut?
Then you could cut across the board. What happens if you cut 10% of every program? I think there are a number of ways you could cut government spending if you were really willing to do it. And one way would be just cut all these kinds of programs, take a chunk out of them.
Nicole, look at the markets right now. We're now down about 270 points. To what do you attribute something like this, where we got closer to about down 200 points and then started losing once again?
Yeah, I think it's just been this downward momentum for the last couple hours now, right? So, more or less.
Well, we are in a bear market.
No, wait a minute. The definition of a bear market, Peter, we're not there yet.
Well, look, the Dow has dropped
62%.
The Dow is down 62% in the last 8 years priced in gold. It's almost down 20% year to date. This is one of the biggest bear markets we've ever been in. people are just deluded because they keep measuring their stocks in shrinking rulers called U.S. dollars. They're oblivious to what's actually happening.
Mike, you're deluded.
I guess I am then, but listen, I'm very happy to be deluded living in this country. My standard of living is rising. It is not falling. My household wealth is going up. Jim Pedakakis before told us $20 trillion over the last 5 years. And by the way, Peter, I just want to ask you, when you say the government is spending too much, put it in context. As a percent of our GDP,
Guys,
it's the lowest level in 40 years.
We're coming up.